Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Sunday School. So glad you guys are here this morning. Before we jump into our worship and our story today, I just wanted to show you a couple things to get you thinking about what we're going to be learning about today. So first, I wanted to show you this picture that I have hanging in my office. You might be able to see it. It's a picture of my three kids. They're sitting on a fallen tree, like a big tree branch at the Morton Arboretum. We took this picture last spring, right before everything kind of shut down for COVID. And I love this picture. It was like a really warm day in February, which we don't get a ton of warm days in February. We went to the Arboretum and it was just a really fun day. Nobody was really cranky or grumpy. It was really beautiful out and we had a really fun time. So every time I look back at this picture, I'm remembering that day. I'm reminded of how happy I felt, how much fun we all had, how nice it was outside, and what a great surprise that was in February. So I'm wondering if you, like I do, we often keep souvenirs or pictures in our rooms, or your mom or dad might keep them in their office at work to remind us of good things that have happened, right? So you might have a souvenir of a really fun trip that you took with your family, or a picture of one of your birthday parties or something like that. And when you look back at it, you see the picture or the souvenir, and it helps you to remember that feeling that you had on that day, right? It kind of takes you back to that feeling that you had when you experienced that really cool day or trip or whatever it was. So I want to show you a picture because we're going to talk about a time that God's people wanted to remember something that God did for them today. So this is called the Madaba Mosaic, and it's an artistic map of parts of the Promised Land that a craftsman created in a church about 1,500 years ago. And if you see all those little white circles in the bottom corner, those represent 12 stones that we're going to hear about in today's story. God did something amazing for his people, and they set this up as a reminder for themselves of how great God is. They used 12 stones to create a souvenir that reminded them of what God had done. So just like we often keep souvenirs to remind us of something fun or special that happened to us, we're going to see a story about how God did something really great for his people, and his people wanted kind of a souvenir. They wanted to be able to look at something and remember what God had done for them. So they created these 12 stones to help them remember. We're going to learn more about the amazing thing that God did for his people right after our time of worship. So let's see you in a few minutes.
Everything he does, he keeps his promises, we know, because, yeah, the word of the Lord holds true. We can trust him, we can trust him, yeah, the word of the Lord holds true. We can trust him, we can trust him, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thing we can count on, it's that God will never let us down, and we can trust everything he does. He keeps his promises, we know, because, yeah, the word of the Lord holds true. We can trust him, we can trust him, yeah, the word of the Lord holds true. We can trust him, we can trust him.
Father who art in heaven,
all honor to your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, here on earth as it is in heaven. Oh, 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 oh. Our Father who art in heaven, give us our daily bread. Forgive us all of our debts, as we forgive all our debtors.
All right, boys and girls, we're going to jump into our Bible reading portion of Sunday school this morning. So we're going to open up our Bibles to the table of contents. Remember, grab your Bible if you have it handy. And we are starting a new book this morning. We're going to be in the book of Joshua. In my Bible, Joshua starts on page 178. And if you notice, we're moving out of the first 5 books of the Bible. Remember, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The first 5 books of the Bible make up what we call the books of the law. Now we're moving into some books that we call the history. So they're telling the history of God's people, and Joshua is part of that group. So I'm going to flip over to page 178 in my Bible. Got to flip through those first 5 books of the law to get there. And here I am in the book of Joshua. I know I'm there because I see the big heading for Joshua. And remember, the big numbers are the chapters, and the little teeny tiny numbers are the verses. So I am just going to read one verse to you this morning just to get us started, and then we'll dive into our story. We are in Joshua chapter 3 and 4 today. So if you have time, have mom or dad read the whole, or you on your own, go back and read the whole 2 chapters so you can get the full context of our story this morning. But to start us out, I'm just going to read chapter 3, verse 1. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and they set out from Shittim. And they came to the Jordan, and he and all the people of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. So today we're going to hear a story about how God's people passed over the Jordan River. right, we're going to jump into a little bit more detail about our story and talk about why it matters, why we're still talking about this story today. So you might remember a couple weeks back, we talked about how God saved his people from Egypt. He parted the Red Sea so that they could cross and escape slavery and Pharaoh. Today, God is going to perform another miracle for his people, but instead of a sea like the Red Sea, he's going to use a river. We're going to read about how he helps his people to cross the Jordan River. It was the last thing that stood between them and the promised land and the victory that God had promised to his people, and we're going to see how God does not let the river stop his people from getting to their promised land. So I'm going to show you the picture for our lesson this week and tell you the story again. After Moses died, God chose Joshua to lead the Israelites into the promised land. This was a big job, but God promised to be with Joshua and to help him. Joshua gathered all the people by the Jordan River. Joshua told the people to get ready to follow the Ark of the Covenant, and he told the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant in front of the people. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua, "Tell the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant to the Jordan River. When they get in the river, they should stand in the water." Now, this was the time of year that the Jordan River was full of water. It had so much water that it overflowed and spilled out over the edges. But God was going to do something amazing. Joshua prepared the people with special instructions. He picked one man from every tribe of Israel. Joshua said, "When the feet of the priests carrying the ark enter the Jordan River, the water will stop and stand up like a wall." And that is what happened. While the priests stood on dry ground in the middle of a riverbed, all the Israelites crossed on dry ground to the other side of the river. After they had all crossed, Joshua sent 12 men to each get a stone from the middle of the riverbed. Joshua called the priests, "Come up from the Jordan." As soon as the priests were on solid grounds, the waters of the Jordan flowed again like normal. Joshua stacked the stones together and made a memorial. The stones were a reminder of how God stopped the Jordan River so his people could walk into the land that God promised them so long ago. All right. So it's a pretty crazy story, right? Really similar to how God parted the Red Sea so that his people could cross on dry ground. Again, he parted waters to get his people to the land that he had promised them. And you notice immediately after they cross, what does Joshua do? He has 12 men gather stones from the dry riverbed that they had just crossed, and he builds a memorial so that the people can remember the good things that God has done for them. We see over and over in the Bible that God does what he promises for his people. He does good things for them. And we're called to tell other people about the good things that God has done for us as reminders of the good things that he's going to do for others. We're going to switch over to Joel now and our Explore the Bible time so we can talk more about the good things that God does for his people.
Rivers are cool. We've got big rivers like the Nile, the Amazon, and the Mississippi. We have medium-sized rivers like the Colorado, the Cumberland, and the East River. I'm sure you've seen small rivers and creeks close to your house, but let's be honest. While it's fun to get into a river or creek once or twice, if you have to cross it constantly, you're gonna want to build a bridge. See? Look at these different bridges over different bodies of water. Bridges are really cool and super helpful. What if I told you that God can build a bridge? Turn in your Bibles to the book of Joshua. Today, we are at the Suwannee Natural Bridge. We're looking for this really cool bridge that was built not using human hands. How does that work? I mean, what is the bridge made of? I mean, maybe it's made of marshmallows. That would be cool. You walk across the bridge and it's squishy and you get hungry and you eat it. And then the bridge falls down, so that wouldn't work. And you get a stomach ache and that would... Anyway, I'm Joel and this is Explore the Bible on Location. It was time for Israel to enter the Promised Land. With Joshua as their new leader, Israel would go in and inherit the land that God promised to Abraham. just one problem. How do you get millions of people who are carrying all their stuff and own thousands of animals across a river that doesn't have a bridge? All right, so we're on the search for this bridge that was built, but it wasn't built with human hands. I don't get it, okay? What is this bridge gonna be made of? Maybe this bridge is made of clouds that have come together. No, because if you step on a cloud, you go through it and then kaspalayesh, you're in the river. I don't get it. It's a mystery. It's a mystery, I tell you. But it's a mystery we are gonna solve together. We will find this bridge. Onward. I don't know, my peoples. I just don't get it. I can't find this bridge. And not only can I not find it, I don't even understand it. A natural bridge? I mean, what is it? Is it some kind of like jungle vine tied between two trees or something? But then you couldn't even get across it because it's like a tightrope. You'd have to be like a professional high wirist from a circus or something. Otherwise, you know, you'd go, kerspalayesh. I guess let's keep looking. You guys gotta help me, okay? I'm doing this all by myself. Bridge. Where are you, Bridge? We found it! It's the bridge! And it's made of rock. I did not see that coming. Come on, let's check this bridge out. Whoa, I've never seen anything like this before. This is so awesome. And during the rainy season, there's a wet weather spring down there, and it just gushes water underneath this thing. That's why they call it the Suwannee Natural Bridge. It's a bridge built without hands because it was formed by God's amazing creation. Mystery solved. Well, actually, I have one more question. How did the nation of Israel get across the Jordan River without a bridge? There they all stood. Men, women, kids, all holding their stuff and surrounded by tons and tons of animals. It shouldn't be too hard to cross the Jordan River, but here's the thing, it was the rainy season and the Jordan River was overflowing its banks. There was pretty much no way across, but God had a plan. God told Joshua to tell the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant on their shoulders and to step into the Jordan River. Once the people obeyed, God miraculously stopped the overflowing Jordan River from flowing at all. God made a bridge for the people by giving them dry ground to step on. All of Israel, men, women, kids, animals, and their belongings, all made it across the Jordan. With Israel now in the Promised Land, it was time to inherit the promise. You see that bridge? It makes this giant rock structure and that giant rock structure one. When God dried up the Jordan River, he made 2 seasons of Israel's history one, taking them out of Egypt and taking them into the Promised Land. And that's what we discover when we dig into the book of Joshua. I'm Joel. This is Explore the Bible on Location, and I was actually seriously wondering if this bridge was going to be made of cheese. But then I thought, you get out in the middle of a cheese bridge and your tummy starts to rumble, you want to start eating the cheese bridge. And then you eat enough of it, what's going to happen? That's right, you're going to get indigestion. I'm a thinker.
Hi everyone, we are back in Becky's Craft Corner. So in today's story, we talked about how the people were walking across a river to get to the Promised Land. So for our activity, we are going to make a color collage. It's kind of like an abstract looking picture of what we think a river would look like. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need blue paper. It could be light blue, it could be dark blue. I used light and dark blue. You'll need green construction paper and you'll need brown. And what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to take that paper, you're gonna need to rip it up. Don't cut it up, rip it up. Make it look like it's not perfect. So here's the brown, and then here's my light blue, and here's my dark blue. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a white piece of paper and a glue stick or some kind of glue, and you are going to, I'm gonna do it first and then show you. You're gonna glue little sections at a time, and then you're going to start putting these colors all over the place. I'm gonna do it like whatever, just to show you real quickly. You're just gonna put these papers all over this paper. And in the end, your paper should look something like this. So this is my color collage of the river. You can see, you'll probably think of what colors you'll find in a river. So you'll find blue, maybe some mud, there's the brown, maybe there's a little like algae or something, and there's the green. So this is my, I don't know, I just poked myself. This is my color collage of the river that the people crossed. So if you don't have construction paper, that's totally okay. You can draw a color collage of what you think the river could look like and make it look as abstract as possible. Because when you look at this, you wouldn't think river, but there are the colors for a river. So you're gonna do something like this. Have fun, and it doesn't have to be perfect, which is the perfect craft for me at least, because I'm terrible at doing things perfectly. And it's going to look great. See ya.